Hello, dear listeners. Welcome to the ECM Podcast. I'm Caroline Fontagneux, and I'm very happy to host this series that will take you behind the scenes of new music on ECM Records. In this new episode, I'm meeting pianist and composer Nitai Hershkovits, who is releasing his first ECM album, Call on the Old Wise, produced by Manfred Eicher. Nitai talks about his inspirations, the old wises in his life, the recording of this album, and the magic of music. First of all, I wanted to know what was this title about.
The title is Call on the Old Wise. I feel like it's more like a chanting thing. And the album, retrospectively, it was dedicated to my basically piano guru. I don't like this word so much, but she is to me a very important figure, Susan. She was my teacher for almost a decade on and off. And when I listened to the album as a whole, when ECM sent me the recording, basically, I realized, oh my God, this is a closure for me because it's a solo piano, but I feel like I put all of my intention and vision into this album. And a lot of it came from Susan too. Just realizing it, later on, because I haven't been seeing her for a long time now. But you know how it's like a person that has such a strong significance. It just lives in your head, And in my, my being, I give her a lot of credit for where I am today. She's a 70-year-old woman who never wanted to be a concert pianist, right? She was in the same class with Barenboim and Perelman and Juilliard in the 60s, but she saw them and said, like, there's no way I'm going to do this and compete with these people. So she decided to teach. But teaching in the most loving and supporting way there is, So she'll take me out to her lemon tree and, tell me stories about the tree. And I would be like, so what are we doing here? Aren't we going to the piano? And then when she took me to the piano, it all made sense. Like, oh, of course, she told me to throw stones. And of course, she told me to, all kinds of weird things that I thought were weird. But when I approached the piano, she knew it all, so it felt very magical and almost mystical. So yeah, the title is Call on the Old Wise, because she was always this symbolic figure, like wise figure to me,
So you didn't really think of her when you wrote all this music, but at the same time, when you listen to this thing as a whole.
That's right. Yeah, that's what's so magical to me about it, because, I was just playing for Manfred, basically. I told Manfred also before the recording, I have nothing, and he didn't reply. But I knew, from our meetings so far up to this record, I knew we had a great connection and I wanted to play for him. And I know, his presence in the room, it's enough for me to come up with ideas. And I just played for him. It was just 2 days, actually 3 days, but we finished the record in 2 days. There was so much material. And even now, I think there's 16 songs in the sequence. And that's after we omitted 10 or something. The intention, at least my intention, was vignettes, small images, very focused, not all over the place, but very focused ideas. And I just trusted the procedure.
So you're talking about vignettes and those images, but do you want the listener to picture things to inspire a direction to take for the imagination, or?
Sure. But also it's first of all my connotation of things. And then I don't expect people to have the same connotation, but I just throw it out there because you have to give it a title. I don't like titles where it's unknown or untitled. I don't like this. I rather give it a name and see how it develops in people's ears and minds, Yeah, it was just so easy, And I got excited before the recording. I recorded with Oded 2 albums before, and it was like so easy. But the process itself, the recording, the dynamics weren't always super smooth because people have different ideas, right? And Manfred comes with an idea of his own. It's almost like another musician in the room, right? A producer, which is very rare, by the way, right? In labels these days. But I'm all for it. All my albums before were with a producer. And so for me, I feel like I give him the space like a musician. So it's almost like playing a duet.
That makes sense. The room in Lugano is also special.
Yeah, I remember going there the first time with Oded. We chose the pianos, right? And Oded sat in the room, and we both kind of started crying, playing the room. There's something, it's very hard to explain. It's just how it resonates, and you can feel the walls talking back. And yeah, I'm not the first one who's like super excited about this room, but man, once you know the room, you really want to go back there. And the pianos.
Did it help that you had played already there with that?
Oh yeah.
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 What, that would have been more intimidating to be there for the first time?
I guess it's like a new person. When you meet a new person, you're like, I wonder how it's like and what's the reaction going to be. And so it's a real relationship, I feel like, especially when you're alone and there's nothing, it's very naked. And so it really helped to know the room. And once I got in there, we realized it wasn't the piano I asked. There's the new piano and there's the old piano. And I was like, I know the old piano is better for me. And so we got there, and I knew immediately it wasn't it. So we went downstairs, and Manfred said, we got to get the right piano for the recording. I told him, like, listen, we got to record it now. Like, let's not wait. And once I said it, he was already on the way back to the room, and we started that. So that's why I'm saying it's easy, because there's nothing getting in the way between the music and the artist. He makes sure, and I knew that's what I needed. Like, forget the piano. Like, I could also just sing and it'll be something, but I feel it now. And he was already on the way. It was really great. Yeah.
This is only original except for two, one by Duke Ellington and one by Molly Drake.
Right.
You tell me about Molly Drake.
Wow, Molly Drake. Well, she's a fairly new inspiration, I guess. Like the last 2 years, Karen Dunn, the singer that I work with, she sent me a few songs she likes as a reference to our work, and I was like, holy shit, what is this? It's like the best piano playing. And then the lyrics, and it's just like, where were you this whole time? And apparently she recorded this whole like compilation with her husband in the next room. And that's it. That's the only documentation we have of her, basically, other than she's the mother of Nick Drake, but she kept living, right, till she was like 80 or something. And so she wrote these really simple songs that were really fitting the tunes that I had in mind, right? And so once I learned it, it was like, I don't know, everything just made sense. And it's really easy to open for interpretation, because it's very simple, but it's like Mozart a little bit. Like, you have to give it the respect, and it'll show your good sides. You're like, it's like give and take kind of thing, where in jazz world, it's more like, let's see how fast, or let's see how much chords you can play over, very sportive, like sportish kind of attitude, which I'm really far from it. I got really far from it the past few years, and this was just a perfect fit. And I recorded also 2 other tunes by Ernesto Nazareth, which didn't make the record. But yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with what came out, Duke and Molly Draker.
You were talking about all your influences and all the works that you've been working on in the last few years, and coming back to a very naked project like this one, after years of experimentation with sounds and electronics and keyboard, computer stuff. Mm-hmm. What kind of experience was it for you?
It's great because you take everything, from the technical side of it, like the mixing part. I was getting into mixing and mastering, and then the technical parts really help the ear eventually. Retrospectively, you kind of realize, oh, I'm really sensitive to, different frequencies now, and I have this and that tolerance to, lengths, and working with different genres too. You could see like a really good song, 320, minutes. It's like it's something about like 250, 320, something about this range makes sense for some reason. You see hits, it's like, and in the jazz world, we know it, right? It's like 6, 7 minutes, and you're already like, it's tiring. And I want it to be communicative out of everything. So it really helped to go around, do this research, and I'm still on it. But stopping in the middle and go and record a piano solo was a great way to put these things in practice. Like, how do we do this only in a piano setting? Yeah, it felt really right.
So there's a lot of modernity in your sound because of this, but there's also like a huge, huge part of classical in your influence. Like you can hear Chopin, you can hear Bach, Ravel even.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, have you listened to specific stuff before recording this?
It's a good question because I always listen, right? I always check things and go back to things I already listened to. But I do find myself coming back to specific things. That's true. Yeah. I play Bach every day. There's not one day that I don't, play Bach. I work on usually Bach and then a little bit of Beethoven. There's always like a lot of books here on the piano. It has a lot of Russian composers like Scriabin, Rachmaninoff. And so I try to get a little bit of everything. And I always think to myself that I don't have to play the piece itself, like a classical pianist, right? That's the privilege of only doing like what you want, or only taking what you want from this world. And it's a lot, there's like 400, 500 years of literature for piano. Like saxophone players don't have it, guitar players don't have it, piano has it. And it'll be funny not to, to spend time exploring. So yeah, I don't listen to a lot of modern jazz, and that's something about Susan that got really strong in me. Listen to different interpretations, and how to listen, and how to go with this knowledge and put it into practice after. This is not an easy process to go through, because sometimes you'll go and it's like, oh, that doesn't sound the same, because it's the same instrument. It's the same note. It's the same notes, but shit, like I sound so bad. So it's the best mirror, the classical mirror.
I mean, you say you don't listen to a lot of modern jazz, but I want to talk about Chick Corea though.
Yeah, let's talk about Chick. Oh my God. I listen to a lot of these ECM works. Like any other pianist, I also listen to, Light as a Feather and Return to Forever. But Chick is a good example. Wow, you have such a sharp ear. Children's songs is one of those magical things my ears were exposed to, and I was like, whoa.
We can hear him in your playing.
Oh, definitely. And I'm happy you said that. I never know how it sounds like, but yeah, I bet there's so much of him.
It doesn't sound like you're trying to copy him at all, but like you can hear the influence.
Yeah, I'm always thinking like, even if I try to sound like someone, and I also tell my students sometimes, it's like, it's good to imitate, like, because you're never going to be this person, right? I'm never going to be Chick. I'm always going to be Nitai doing something. So I got this confidence in me of doing these things, and also saying like, when I was younger, I was like, no, I didn't listen to it. No, I didn't. Or like kind of finding my way to originality, where it's like, it's funny. Everybody is influenced and everybody has their idols, but also Chick Corea, it's such a pioneer work. Also the children's song one. And Manfred told me actually that he was just recording it pretty much straight, like one take each.
you're releasing a solo piano on ECM for the first time. And the solo piano history on ECM is huge.
Right.
It's very special. It's one of the rare labels where the solo piano line is, historical, legendary. Yeah. Is it intimidating or is it exciting?
It's exciting. It's, sitting next to somebody in a catalog like this, it's just, it's an immediate compliment, It's like, no matter who it is, it's Jonathan, or it's like, I know that Fred recorded there now, Fred Hirsch, and, there's anybody. I just trust, the label so much. And as a young musician also, I listen to so much of the works. I don't even care who I'm sitting next to. I know I'm in good hands. And that's part of the vibe that I can hear in the recording too. It's like, you're good. No worries. Like, not in a condescending way, in the most pure, like, don't worry about it. There's something that is like, it's both like luxurious, but also like, you're just one of another one in a way. Like, you're not so important, but also.
Yeah, that's a cool way to see it, I think.
Yeah.
You mentioned teaching. You mentioned your students a little earlier. Are you teaching a lot?
No, not at all. I teach once in a while whenever I'm open and available. Then I usually will put it out and people approach, and it's never like recurring. It's always like one-time thing, because I always feel like it's a lot of responsibility to give every time the same, because I want to give like 200%. So I sit with them like sometimes 2 hours, and I want to see that I also get something from it. It's like, obviously it's a shared interest. And so it's kind of rare to find people to sit with who can vibe with you, either it's a musician or a chef, or it's like it has to be, vibing. Whenever I do it, I'm happy to do it. It's just, I feel like it's because I'm not like grinding it, and it's also because a lot of people need the words and I don't always have them. I'm like, oh, look, do this. And then I play, and then they're like, oh, okay, but how do you do this? And I'm like, look, literally, you just do this. Yeah. No, but seriously, like, let's say they have the infrastructure, right? The facilities. They can see me do it. And then we can talk about, where does it come from? Like, what, like we talked earlier about the recording, like, what's that vision? Is it like purple? Is it yellow? Is it up? Is it down? It's like usually no musical terms involved, because then everybody can understand, right? Like, even if you sit on the piano, I mean, you played and sang, but you don't have to be a pianist, right? I can tell you, like, okay, you went down, now you go up. Then you know what to do, And even more, you have more choices to make, because I didn't tell you, you're in this key, you're in this chord,
Do you channel your inner Susan?
Yeah, every day. And I know she does too. She channels like her old teacher too. Like, that's how it works, right? She used to send me to books to read. And then I read the books, and it was exactly how she speaks. It was so humbling to see, because she's not apologizing for anything. She's like, this is the right way. This is the most communicative way I know how to make things. And I really appreciated it, and so I try to do the same also with music. It's like, I don't want to play chords that nobody knows. I'm past through that, like, this is way too complicated for my ears now. I rather have two chords that have this texture and that everybody can understand, not just me.
Sensory experience more than technical or literal. Yeah.
Exactly.
Nitai Hershkovits about his new ECM solo album called On the Old Wise. Thank you for joining, choosing, and listening to our ECM podcast. I'm Caroline Fontagneux, and I look forward to sharing more music with you in the next episode.